In a bombshell new report by NPR, it looks like the White House is in the process of looking for a new defense secretary. The development comes after Pete Hegseth, the current defense secretary, was discovered this past weekend to have been involved in yet another Signal chat scandal, with the New York Times reporting some of those people said that the information Mr. Hegseth shared on the Signal chat included the flight schedules for the FA-18 Hornets targeting the Houthis in Yemen, essentially the same attack plans that he shared on a separate Signal chat the same day that mistakenly included the editor of The Atlantic. Mr. Hegseth's wife, Jennifer, a former Fox News producer, is not a Defense Department employee, but she has traveled with him overseas and drawn criticism for accompanying her husband to sensitive meetings with foreign leaders. Mr. Hegseth's brother, Phil, and Tim Parlatore, who continues to serve as his personal lawyer, both have jobs in the Pentagon, but it is not clear why either would need to know about upcoming military strikes aimed at the Houthis in Yemen. Now, you'll remember all of the focus surrounding the fact that Pete Hegseth was involved in a separate group chat scandal with people who also didn't have a need to know about imminent war plans. Can anyone tell me why Pete Hegseth's wife, brother, and personal lawyer might need to know about these imminent attacks? Perhaps all of those people on the right who lost their skulls melting down over baseless Hunter Biden stories might want to weigh in here about Pete texting his Thanksgiving group chat about classified information. Unless, of course, it's only bad when Democratic family members are the subject of scandals. Hegseth himself had the opportunity to respond to this scandal. Here's what he had to say.
You know, what a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out from the same media that peddled the Russia hoax. Won't give back their Pulitzers. They got Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. And on hoaxes, time and time and time again. And as they peddle those lies, no one ever calls them on it. See, this is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me, because we're changing the Defense Department, putting the Pentagon back in the hands of warfighters, and anonymous smears from disgruntled former employees on old news doesn't matter. So I'm happy to be here at the Easter egg roll with my dad and my kids, because, you know, this is what we're doing it for. These kids right here. This is why we're fighting the fake news media. This is why we're fighting slash and burn Democrats. This is why we're fighting hoaxsters. This group, this group right here, full of hoaxsters that peddle anonymous sources from leakers with axes to grind, and then you put it all together as if it's some news story. And when we know exactly what it is. So I'm really proud of what we're doing for the president, fighting hard across the board, and I'm going to go roll some Easter eggs with my kids. Thank you very much. Have spoken to the president, and we are going to continue fighting on the same page all the way.
Sure is a lot of words, and yet absent in that rambling diatribe is a single denial of the claims at the heart of this. And look, I don't want to speak out of turn here, but if the claims aren't true, you probably want to say that they're not true. But when you start deflecting and using literal children as a shield to protect you from having to answer questions honestly, then I think it becomes abundantly clear what's happening here. And of course, to the surprise of no one, the White House is lining up behind Hegseth because what better time to double down on your support for the Secretary of Defense than right after learning that he made his entire extended family privy to classified war plans?
Ask the Houthis how much dysfunction is done. Pete's doing a great job. Everybody's happy with him. We have the highest recruitment numbers I think we've had in 28 years. No, he's doing a great job. It's just fake news. They just bring up stories. I guess it sounds like disgruntled employees. You know, he was put there to get rid of a lot of bad people, and that's what he's doing. So you don't always have friends when you do that.
The president stands strongly behind Secretary Hegseth, who is doing a phenomenal job leading the Pentagon. And this is what happens when the entire Pentagon is working against you and working against the monumental change that you are trying to implement. Secretary Hegseth was nominated for this position because he is standing up for the war fighter, the men and women in uniform who are putting their lives on the line to protect our country and our homeland. And unfortunately, there have been people at that building who don't like the change the secretary is trying to bring, so they are leaking and they are lying to the mainstream media. We've seen this game played before. The secretary is doing a tremendous job, and the president stands strongly behind him.
Quick question. Levitt said that this is what happens when the entire Pentagon is working against you. Why is the entire Pentagon working against Pete Hegseth? I guess there are two options here. Either the entire U.S. military is corrupt and Hegseth is the only virtuous figure here, or Hegseth is corrupt and the entire U.S. military knows it. Take all the time you need with that one. But look, the reality is that this is going to be a he said, she said, so in order to really get some answers here about what the appropriate response is, this is the source I trust most.
Apparently, the standard operating procedure inside the Clinton Secretary of State office was to send emails that couldn't otherwise be printed to the maid to print them out of a secure area or from a secure area and then hand them off. Any security professional, military, government or otherwise, would be fired on the spot for this type of conduct and criminally prosecuted for being so reckless with this kind of information. The fact that she wouldn't be held accountable for this, I think, blows the mind of anyone who's held our nation's secrets dear, who's had a top secret clearance like I have and others, who know that even one hiccup causes a problem, let alone a standard procedure like this.
That's right. Pete Hegseth himself had some pretty harsh words about what happens when someone who doesn't have a need to know gains access to classified materials. Fired on the spot. His words, not mine. Anyway, where were we? Oh, right. Pete was texting his wife and brother classified war plans. That's right. So look, should Hegseth be fired? Abso-fucking-lutely. This guy whines about DEI all day long and yet is an unqualified TV host who only got his job because he said nice things about Donald Trump on air, who in fewer than 2 months managed to get himself embroiled in multiple scandals and has reportedly drawn the ire of the, quote, entire Pentagon. I know this game is tired, but if a Democrat nominated Joy Reid to be defense secretary and this is what happened, Sean Hannity would be apoplectic, Maria Bartiromo would go on a nationwide live audience tour to talk about it, Judge Jeanine might actually stop drinking, but they would be out of their minds. But yet, when one of their buddies does it, hey, maybe we just give the weekend anchor at Fox a little bit more time while he's gambling with war plans. After all, it's not like this is life or death or anything, am I right? The question then becomes, will Hegseth be fired? Possibly, once he becomes too much of a distraction, a liability for this administration. But the fact that the initial questions were met with such full-throated denial meant that this White House had the opportunity to regain at least a shred of dignity and yet decided, nah, let's just throw our weight behind the most incompetent guy in this administration instead, which, by the way, I understand is saying something. Because it was never about protecting our national security and was always about protecting their egos. This administration is not in place to keep us safe. It was to protect themselves, their jobs, and their power. Our safety is clearly just something that they're willing to sacrifice along the way. Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we are now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they are willing to cater to this administration. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a way for me to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link right here on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support me and my team. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.